So once again, we have Americans revolting against the British. This seems to be a recurring theme, and it's coming out right now in this controversy, which is being dubbed the Cambridge kerfuffle. Many of you know that Cambridge Bibles is a press that has been printing Bibles for many years. Since I think 1591, they have been printing Bibles. So they are a very prestigious and old publishing company of Bibles located in England. And they made waves the other day when they put out a statement that was dealing with the issue of people buying their Bibles, specifically their Diadem Bible that they produced recently in hardback, and rebinding those. And Cambridge Bibles took issue with how that was being done and made a statement about it, and it made a lot of people angry. Specifically, I'm kind of saying a lot of people that are more in the American mindset as far as independence and business entrepreneurship, if that's even a word, they really took issue with how Cambridge went about dealing with this issue and the things that they were saying. So in this video, I do want to look at the statement, and I hope to clarify what Cambridge Bibles was actually saying. I do think there was some misunderstanding about that, and I just want to make sure that everybody is clear what the specific issue was that Cambridge was addressing. Because it wasn't just simply about rebinding their Bibles. There's a little bit more to it than that. So we will take a look at that statement. I'm not sure that anything that I say in this video is going to be super helpful because a lot has already been said. There has been a lot of ink spilled or letters typed, since now we use computers so much, online talking about this issue, and it really did blow up. I think it was yesterday, December 2nd, 2021, that things really kind of blew up in the Bible groups about this. And Matthew Everhard, he's a pastor and someone that many people look up to. They love his channel. He has a lot of great content and someone who's highly respected in the Bible community. And he dubbed this whole issue the Cambridge kerfuffle. And he gave his take on it, and a lot of people really resonated with what he had to say. I do want to make a general comment about what I'm seeing in this whole situation because, as I said, a lot of people had a lot to say about it, and people were really riled up. And to me, something that jumped out at me about this is the whole idea of the little guy versus the large enterprise dynamic, and I think that's really something you see in this situation. Anytime that you have a little guy or a small business, or it's just like one person versus a large enterprise, a big business, a big entity, it's very natural for people to automatically just kind of side with the little guy. And there are reasons for that. One is because it's the little versus the big. It's the David versus Goliath. It's the one who's getting picked on versus the bully, right? We tend to perceive things that way. And so if you have someone who's big and strong and they're picking on someone, you know, it is very natural. Our inclination emotionally is to side with the person who is the underdog, right? And so I think that's part of the dynamic of this situation. You do have the little guy versus the big enterprise, but also there is the fact that it is a little guy who is a person versus an enterprise, which is very non-personal. And I think that's another reason we tend to be drawn emotionally to side with, you know, someone who we actually can identify as a person that we can relate to, because this is someone that maybe we know this person or we know about this person, versus something like Cambridge Bibles, which is just a business entity. It's very non-personal. And so emotionally, I think we're going to connect and side with the person a lot more. And so that, to me, is really the dynamic of this situation, the emotional dynamic of this situation that I think plays into a lot of this. And speaking to that issue, I actually do want to say that I know who the rebinder is. They actually did say, hey, this was directed toward me. And I do want to say that, yes, this rebinder is an awesome person who has a wonderful rebind and leatherwork business that they do. And they are just fantastic in what they are producing. And the person himself is just, just a very likable person. We all love this person. And so, of course, on the level of those dynamics, yes, we definitely don't think it's good for a person like this to be shamed for doing something that they in no way were trying to undercut the business of Cambridge Bibles or do anything unethical. So on that kind of emotional dynamic level, I do want to make it clear that, yes, of course, I think this rebinder is an awesome person, and I really don't think what they did in and of itself was really a big issue. What did become an issue is how Cambridge looked at the situation and what they thought was happening or what they thought was going to happen. And so that's why I think it's really important we look at Cambridge's statement and see what is it they were actually taking issue with. So the statement starts off with this title here, Conversion of Cambridge ESV Diadem Bibles. And something I want to point out here is I think a lot of people thought that Cambridge was saying you're not allowed to rebind their Bibles, or that they have a real problem with people rebinding their Bibles. But this is not actually stating the problem. This is just stating the subject matter of this statement here. So the subject is, yes, it is about the rebinding of Cambridge ESV Diadem Bibles, but they don't actually have a problem with that in and of itself. You can see that from the first sentence here. It says, we recognize that for a variety of reasons, customers who buy our Bibles may sometimes wish to repurpose them for their own private use or to perhaps customize as a gift. We are entirely comfortable with this. So Cambridge does not have a problem with people rebinding their Bibles. And I think that's a really important thing, just so everybody's clear on this, that they are actually coming out and saying, hey, if someone wants to buy a Bible and customize it or have it rebound and give as a gift to someone, that's not a problem. It's interesting, I just did a video where I talked about a rebind that was done for me by Adrian Alonso at AE Bibles, and it happens to be a Cambridge Bible. Now, it's not a Diadem, it is a Cambridge Clarion, but they don't have a problem with that in and of itself. So I think we need to be clear on that. It says, though, however, we have recently learned of a commercial and widely publicized scheme to buy the hardback bindings of our new Diadem Bible in quantity and affix different covers and solicit sales of the converted book. So what they were concerned about, now it turns out that this isn't exactly what was really happening. The quantity of what this Bible rebinder was actually acquiring and was going to rebind wasn't actually very much. It was like 3 Bibles when all was said and done. But what they were concerned about was a commercial and widely publicized scheme. And by the way, some people did take issue with that word scheme. It sounds very derogatory. But I would say maybe a better word here would be enterprise. So they were concerned of a commercial and widely publicized enterprise. So what you're getting into is the issue of marketing and competition. And what it says here, we want to make clear, we would like to make it clear that we disapprove of the use of our image and material in this way, and that it goes very much against the spirit of our publishing in this format. So the issue is not whether you do a rebind. They really don't have a problem with that. What they have an issue with is marketing a product in competition with the company that branded and produced the product in the first place. I do think that is more of a business ethical issue. Now, again, what was actually happening in this situation was that a rebinder had, I guess, posted that they wanted to rebind some Bibles, Cambridge Diadem Bibles, and people could order them. But it turned out, it wasn't really that many Bibles. It was like 3 Bibles that were going to be ordered. So it wasn't what actually happened. It's what Cambridge worried was going to happen, were concerned that might happen. And it's not the rebinding itself. It's really this marketing. It's using their branding, their name recognition to create a product that could ultimately be in competition with what they're producing, and also using their product in a way that they never intended. So Cambridge is going to be producing the Diadem, the ESV Diadem, that presently is in the hardback, but they're going to be producing that in leather-bound versions that are going to be much more premium. And so if a rebinder is already taking their Bibles that are being produced right now and making premium versions, what they were worried about is that a lot of these could be done and put on sale, and it could become competition for the Bibles that they're trying to produce. Now, I'm not 100% sure I'm getting all of this exactly right, but this is my understanding of where they're probably coming from. So the issue here has to do with taking their logo, their name recognition is probably the best way to put that, because we all know and love Cambridge Bibles, and you're saying here's a product that is essentially a Cambridge Bible, and you are now using their marketing, their name recognition that they've established to put a product out there that's ultimately going to be in competition with their product. So that's what the real issue was about. Now, I do have to say again and again, what actually was taking place wasn't actually that threatening to their business, but they perceived that it could be, or that it would be. And that's why they were making a statement. I do think it really had to do with them just saying, hey, look, we don't want to see this become a huge thing where it undercuts what we're trying to do. I think that was what they were trying to express. Unfortunately, it gets back to what I said at the beginning. It really came down to this dynamic, or it came across as this dynamic of a large business or corporation coming down on one little guy, one person. And a lot of people really reacted strongly to that, and I can understand why. By the way, if you want to get some insider perspective from someone who actually does Bible rebinds, and he talks some about the potential legal issues, but I think really does a good job explaining things, is Dave Dalfino from Cherry Hill Bibles. He actually put a video out there addressing this issue from his insider perspective. So I encourage you to watch that. I'll leave a link to that post in the video description below this video. So there were some people that were saying that they were interested in hearing my take on this. Again, I don't know that anything I said has been very helpful at all, but those are my honest thoughts on this whole situation. Like others, I would encourage us to be careful about our reactions to things like this. And some of our reactions are understandable, but we always want to bring things back under the subjection of Christ and what he teaches us, what he tells us to do, and how we carry out our attitudes and behaviors. Of course, there are a lot more things that could be talked about and said about a situation like this, but the main thing I wanted to do is just make sure everybody was clear on what the actual issue was that Cambridge was trying to address, and try to give some clarification there, as well as some of my thoughts on the overall situation. So hopefully I've done that fairly well, enough to be helpful in some way. I would love to hear what you think in the comment section. I do always enjoy good discussion and hopefully helping each other to sharpen our understanding and to grow in our ability to deal with these different things in our lives in a Christian manner. So feel free to leave your comments or any follow-up questions that you may have. But thank you so much for taking some time to look at this topic with me from a Frisch perspective.